It snuck up on me.
As it is normally wont to do.
Dunc and Holder on a Friday, May 11th. Larry Holder, Clyde Verdun, Dave DeCorbier here at iHeartRadio Central. Clyde has thrown me for a loop because he is sitting in Jeff Duncan's previously vacant seat, and now
switching it up today.
And now his seat is vacant, and I don't know who and what's going on. What planet
it's
are
not
we on?
It's not that different, bro. I mean, I just moved over like 2 feet to my left, to your right.
Well, it's like somebody wants. It's like some.
Let's change that. Let's change the mast. Yeah.
Some folks just want to make a little jump, just like another former Saints player wants to apparently become a Saints player again.
Who would that be? I've been out of the loop the last day and a half, so I don't know.
You have
How
not
about
been
you tell me? Tell my
Loop.
listeners.
You have not been out of the loop.
Yeah, I know. Maybe somebody or something tweeted at you yesterday about
You
this.
attached me through our Dunc and Holder Twitter account to a certain player who, now he needs a job. Now he's willing to come back and do whatever it takes. Can't believe it.
Man.
Stunning.
It's amazing how life comes at you fast, man. Life comes at you fast.
That's a good way to put it. We will let you know who that player is at some point in today's show. So much to talk about, actually, on a Friday in mid-May. Saints rookie minicamp starts today, and we will not have access, the public and the media, we will not have any access in watching actual practice. And while normally I would say, come on, that's obnoxious, we should be able to watch it, 85% of the people, actually, I'd go on and say 80 to 85% of the players who are on the field during rookie minicamp will not be on the field after rookie minicamp at the Saints facility, so I kind of get it. We'll get our first glimpse at the whole team in a couple weeks when OTAs begin. But we will talk with our own Josh Katzenstein, NOLA.com, and the Times-Picayune around 11:30 to get his perspective. He's been going through all the news and notes of the week, and there's been plenty of news and notes throughout the week as far as Saints chatter. And speaking of OTAs, another interesting note that someone won't be going to OTAs. A certain head coach has confirmed, according to ESPN. Mike Triplett, of course, who's been on our show plenty of times. I've been covering the Saints for quite some time. Had a chance to catch up with Sean Payton. And Mark Ingram, we figured wouldn't be going. It was speculated that that would be the case. And Sean Payton confirming that he will not be participating in OTAs. They anticipate him at minicamp. And it's been a heck of a week for Mark Ingram, to say the least. Suspended and a negotiating ploy. We'll dive into that topic throughout the show as well. We'll also be talking New Orleans Pelicans. Dell Demps and Alvin Gentry spoke with the media yesterday. Lengthy chat with the media yesterday. You'll hear from both of them about the future of the team. Of course, DeMarcus Cousins, Rajon Rondo, and we'll give you their comments and thoughts on, are they willing to go over the luxury tax? That's going to be an interesting topic as we go throughout this offseason for the Pelicans, because they know they need to improve. They know they're going to have to spend big bucks if they want to keep Cousins, and significant dollars if they want to keep Rondo. And if they want to add any other pieces, they're going to be taxed for it if they go that route. So we'll dive into that. Also, LSU baseball, big weekend for them, even though the opponent isn't that great. They're taking on Alabama. And if they falter, it's this weekend series, it does more to hurt them than help them, because it seems like they're on the verge of, at least according to D1 Baseball, back in the projected 64-team NCAA tournament. But you can't stub your toe against Alabama because they're one of the worst teams in the SEC at this point.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, by all accounts, and winning the series is all they need to do. All I need to do is take 2 of the 3 games. It's going to be hard. It's always hard to get sweeps in any really conference in any sport because it's tough. It's a tough thing to do. But by all accounts, all I need to do is win 2 out of 3 games this weekend. I mean, take Friday, take today, take tomorrow, get it out of the way. You're good to go. That's 2 more wins in the SEC, what you need, and go into next week, the last week of the year. Win that one, get a game or 2 in the SEC tournament, and you're going to be fine. But when I say you're going to be fine, don't expect to host. Be ready to, LSU fan, be ready to say you're either watching them play out on the West Coast 2 hours behind, or should I say 2 hours ahead, or on the East Coast with them being an hour ahead, because they're not hosting. They're not going to host.
They just need to get in.
They just need to get in at this point. So
they're not even close to hosting.
No. So, I mean, and regardless of what they do, even if they go on to win the SEC tournament, they're still not going to host. It's just not going to happen. They're not going to have enough wins. They're not going to have enough quality ones to host. So be prepared for them to go somewhere. If you're lucky, they're going to go somewhere close, maybe Hattiesburg to Southern Miss. Maybe they're going somewhere in Texas. But at worst, you're looking at them being shipped out west or being shipped to the East Coast.
Well, we'll dive into more of that later on in the show. But let's keep it with the Pelicans because we didn't really touch on them yesterday because I was just basically waiting for Dell Demps and Alvin Gentry to speak with the media to kind of give their thoughts on that. And we're going to hear from them throughout hour number 1. And it's something that they're answering the questions, and the questions are coming about Cousins. And when you say, in a perfect world, we would want Rondo back. In a perfect world, we would want Cousins back. And, of course, we know it's not a perfect world. And they understand that. And so it's going to be the lingering topic for these guys as we move forward. And just by their reactions to the questions, and they know the questions are coming, and they know everything from money to Cousins' health, they understand that this is all variables they have to sort through to make a decision on both players. But they sound realistic. At least they're not just saying, oh, we're going to definitely sign him back. No questions asked. No matter what the cost, they're going to do it. No, they're at least being reasonable with kind of their reactions to all this. And we're just going to have to sit back and wait because it's not going to happen till tomorrow, and it's not going to happen next week. We're going to have to wait, of course, till the end of the season, and what the end of the season is probably a month away, considering how long it takes for NBA playoffs to move. These questions are just going to be lingering, floating around for at least multiple months. I'm going to go out on a limb saying multiple months.
Well, NBA free agency doesn't start until, I don't think it starts until we're not another month out until, after the finals are over. So all this talk about what guys you may be able to bring in, and obviously Alvin Gentry will talk a little bit about that. You're still a good bit away from being able to even really talk about any kind of free agency rumors and all, because if you go online and you look at who are the top free agents of 2018, a lot of the top 10 guys are guys that you expect to do something to switch up their contracts. Kevin Durant is number 1. Kevin Durant is technically going to be a free agent. He's going to re-sign with the Warriors. It just depends on how they plan on working that contract to keep the rest of the guys happy too.
What about LeBron Palooza?
Yeah, LeBron's the only one. LeBron and Paul George, because Chris Paul is going to re-sign with the Rockets because this is his best chance to win a title. Clint Capella is the same thing. And no one's going to really care about DeAndre Jordan or Aaron Gordon or Julius Randle or Jabari Parker, guys like that. The 2 biggest fish at this point, or should I say the 3 biggest fish, are LeBron James, Paul George, and DeMarcus Cousins.
Well, you mentioned Paul George. And, ooh, you know me, Odds McGee
over here.
You know me. Bovada put out some odds on Paul George, and the Pelicans, their name has been sprinkled in to the odds.
What happens when you start winning? You get linked with people. It's amazing.
That's exactly right. What if they go Paul George and decide, later, Bugs, good talk, or sign and trade or something? You're going to hear a lot of this speculation. I've already heard several Otto Graham chatter. Who knows what's going to happen there?
You mean Otto Porter Jr.?
Yeah, not Otto Graham.
Yeah, I was saying Otto Graham. He's a Hall of Famer in
he's
the sport.
He's a Hall of Fame football player who is probably not alive, right?
No, he's definitely dead.
So not the same guy. Otto Porter. I've been doing that a lot this week.
Yeah, mix up names. Kyle Leonard.
It was
Rick Leonard.
I called him Paul Leonard.
Paul Leonard.
Yes, exactly. His name is Rick Leonard, and he is under contract, by the way. 6 of the 7 draft picks are under contract. The only one not Traquan Smith, but we'll talk about that.
July 1, by the way. July 1 is when restricted free agents can sign offer sheets, and teams can begin signing rookie scale contracts, minimum salary contracts, and two-way contracts. But teams can't officially sign unrestricted free agents until July 6th, when the July moratorium ends. So you know what this means. Starting on July 1st, it's going to be hot rumor mill central. It's going to be 24/7. It's going to be rumors of which teams are bringing in which guys and who's rolling out the red carpet. And I mean, if you've heard some of these stories, or if you haven't, there are lots of previous stories back about things such as for Blake Griffin, when the Clippers tried to re-sign him, they put his they had a mock of his jersey up in the rafters to say what he could be, to try to get him to stay with the Clippers, which they eventually did re-sign him and then trade him to the Pistons this past season. So it shows you how crazy these things are, because now it's become full-fledged recruiting season, hashtag recruiting season for the NBA.
What about recruiting?
Yeah, I mean, it's very much like if you are a lover of NCAA football recruiting, this is as close as you can get on the professional level, because from all accounts, all these organizations go all out for all of these high-priced recruits. And I mean, you can imagine LeBron James. Shoot, man, we're not even to July 1st, and all the billboards about LeBron James and Philadelphia and like Miami and Los Angeles and all the rest of this stuff. I mean, it's already going up, and it's not even July 1st. It's crazy.
I'm guessing tampering doesn't really get monitored too heavily in the NBA.
Not really. Not as much as it is in the NFL. Yeah.
The old legal tampering, it seems like there's no such thing as illegal tampering.
Or as they call overseas, tapping up.
Exactly. But the odds from Bovada, just a heads up, on Paul George, on Game 1 of the 2018-2019 season, which team will Paul George play for? The Lakers are still the favorite at 1-2, followed by the Thunder 4-1, 76ers 6-1, Pacers, Cavaliers, Clippers 9-1, and the Pelicans and the Knicks are 18-1.
Pelicans and the Knicks.
Go Lloyd Christmas. So you're saying there's a chance?
There's a chance,
man. That's about as far as we're getting there. I'm seriously doubting Paul George would be New Orleans Falcon.
No.
You never know.
You never know. You never know. And I mean, it's all going to, and what's crazy about this is that it's all going to depend on what LeBron James does. I mean, LeBron James is going to be the big fish. Everybody is, of course, still mostly in the dark and unsure of what he is going to do, because he is going to, he is literally going to shift almost like tectonic plates the entirety of the NBA. And the only thing LeBron has not done, which I'd be interested to see if this is a part of his camp or what they're talking about, because number one, he hasn't gotten over everything that happened when he left Cleveland the first time. All the stuff, the Comic Sans letter from Dan Gilbert, obviously the vitriol. That's still not. He's still not over that.
He got over it enough to come back.
Well, I mean, he didn't do that for Dan Gilbert. He did that for the city of Cleveland. He did that for his legacy. He did that.
He didn't do it for Cleveland. He partially did it for himself.
Yeah, partially did it for himself, but still,
not make him out this big martyr.
I'm not making him being a martyr, but I mean, he still gets the plaudits from that, because he still did it. But the only thing he hasn't done, he hasn't gone out west. And as we've talked about all year, specifically because the Pelicans are in the West is by far miles and miles the stronger of the two conferences and the most competitive of the two conferences. He's never played for a Western Conference team. The closest he's come was this NBA All-Star game.
So why go west then? Why not go to the Knicks or somebody like that? Because the 76ers.
Because the constant gripe about LeBron is that LeBron has not won his championships, and this is my annoying thing with LeBron, because my thing specifically with some NBA fans is that they couldn't see the forest for the trees, and why we can't have nice things is because they have to quantify everything with, is he better than Jordan? And I'm just saying, it doesn't matter. He is the greatest player.
How about no?
You could say no, but there's a lot of people out there with facts and stats to tell you that you're wrong too.
I'm going to go with my logic and my own two eyes and say no.
Yeah, exactly. But still, he's a generational talent, and we are in an era where we have seen one of the greatest players in the history of the NBA play. But he has not But the gripe against him is that he has not done it against some of the best talent, game in and game out. Now, granted, how you quantify that is up to you. I'm not saying that.
That's
I'm just
silly.
saying it's silly, but it is
silly.
If you go and search for any article on LeBron, especially one that just came out last week with what would happen if LeBron wasn't in the NBA, I'm pretty sure it was, or if he was.
Wait, what would happen if he's not in the NBA?
As in, like, what would the last 10 years of the NBA look like if LeBron was not in the NBA?
Is this like a choose your route novel?
Yes, yeah, I'm about to say this is choose your.
Is this
choose
where
your
we
story.
are? People are trying to nitpick at LeBron about this. Like, I've been, as long as I've ever done radio, which I jumped on the radio initially in 2010. I've always been a LeBron guy, and I don't even know how this conversation is morphed into LeBron, but I'm sure the longer we get into the NBA playoffs, we're going to probably be diving more
Absolutely,
into
because
this
he
topical.
changes
Right.
how every other free agent is going to decide to move. Because if LeBron stays in the East, it's fine. If you go out West and do your thing, but if he comes West, I think that actually changes the landscape of how the West looks, and for some of these players because of what he does.
He's one of the best player to ever play
Exactly.
basketball. Period.
Exactly.
He might not be the best.
The best,
You
but he
could
is
say
one of them.
he's top 5, maybe. He changes the landscape. There's no question.
Yeah,
about it.
imagining the NBA without LeBron James. It was an SI story that came out yesterday.
Interesting.
Yes,
All right,
and it's
I
a
need to
look
take
at
a look at that.
Yeah, it's a pretty thorough story because it's on the crossover. What if LeBron hadn't made it? Imagining the NBA without King James, and it basically is taking a look at what the NBA would look like if LeBron James had not been LeBron James.
It's that kind of day because a good buddy of mine from Bleacher Report, Mike Freeman, this is totally off topic, saying now that Mark Ingram's suspended, Alvin Kamara could win the MVP.
Here we go.
Oh, Nelly, hot take.
Woo, it's spicy. It's warm in here.
I know. We'll talk about that later on in the show. Josh Katzenstein, 11:30. Next couple of segments, we'll hear from Dell Demps and Alvin Gentry on the future, on DeMarcus Cousins, on Rondo, and the support they've gotten from Gail Benson since she's taken over as the owner. So come on back. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app. Dunc and Holder.
Let's go for the night, go for the night. And last couple beers. What is this? What shit is this? Spork in the road, spoon in the road. The hell? I'm with that.
Cool. And you said you had that audio, right? Sweet. We'll hear from Dell Demps and Alvin Gentry throughout the rest of hour number one. But we were talking a little bit about LeBron James. Well, he's certainly shifted someone's job status. Breaking news just now from Adrian Wojnarowski. Toronto has fired Dwayne Casey. So much for being the number one seed and Clyde's favorite team in the NBA. He gone.
It's a dumb move. It's a stupid move. It's stupid.
Why is it stupid?
That's a dumb reactionary move. Yeah.
They got throttled.
They got throttled by the best player in the NBA. They got throttled because they didn't have, because of all that stuff that they talked, all of that yak their players talked in the preseason, going back to last summer. It's their fault. They're the one who choked. You want to talk about this?
You don't fire the players, you fire the coach.
Right. Well, you're going to try to bring in, who are you going to bring in to say, this is going to be the guy that gets us over the hump?
I don't know.
Exactly.
I don't think
Dwayne Casey is a good
I always
coach.
think Toronto's a fraud. I always think they're a fraud.
And that's a Toronto problem. That's a Masai Ujiri problem. That's the GM's problem. That's not. I mean, Dwayne Casey is a fantastic coach. He is. If he's not the coach of the year, he's going to be the first. I mean, he's got to be the first fired NBA coach of the year. It's going to be amazing, because that doesn't make a lick of sense. That is a reactionary move. He is still a fantastic coach. You ran into a buzzsaw that is LeBron James at a seed that he shouldn't have been at because they tanked most of the year from what they should have been. That is a reactionary, terrible move. And that's why Toronto,
fire.
and that is why the 6 will always be the bottom. And if they'll be lucky if they get past the 6, as in the 6th seed, with whatever other coach in the NBA they plan on getting.
Well, I'm already seeing reaction on Twitter from other sports pundits out there, and they are in agreement with you that they feel like this is absurd.
So it's crazy.
Well, guess what? It's not a Dunc and Holder problem either. I just wanted to bring it up just to throw in your face.
I can't believe that. I can't believe that. I was expecting to see what you were actually going to talk about, but I was not expecting this. I didn't have it up either, so I couldn't see all the stuff come across. But terrible move, dumb.
Well, there you go. All right, let's hear from Dell Demps and let's hear from Alvin Gentry. They spoke with the media yesterday in a post-season press conference. Of course, variety of topics came up, but much of this is certainly DeMarcus Cousins and what are they willing to do this offseason to improve, because while they played well this year, got over the playoff hump, won a series, they know that to fully compete for an NBA championship, because now that's the expectation. You win a series, now you got to start thinking, okay, playoffs, just getting there isn't enough. You want to compete for championships now, and you've got pieces, and you've proven that you can hang with the big boys. Not all the time, but you can hang with them at times, and that's the name of the game. So let's start off with Dell Demps, because we don't hear from Dell Demps very often. So let's just start off with one of the players that they did add this season to help kind of get them moving. Nico Mirotic, of course, big trade after the Boogie Cousins deal. Let's hear what Dell Demps' assessment was of Nico Mirotic throughout this season. and a piece that they're going to have at least going into next season. He's under contract, so that's one of the real pluses with that trade. He wasn't just a rental, and now you got to figure out where you go from here with the rest of the roster. And of course, what's the big topic? Literally, Dell Demps called it the elephant in the room. Of course, DeMarcus Cousins, his injury, and where they go from there. Certainly interesting. So, all right, let's take a break right here on the show. When we get back, we'll hear from Dell Demps about DeMarcus Cousins. We'll hear from Alvin Gentry about DeMarcus Cousins. You'll also hear from Alvin Gentry on Rajon Rondo, what type of players that the Pelicans should be looking to add, their thoughts on Gail Benson and the way she dove in right after the death of Tom Benson, gave a little boost to the franchise. Also, Dell Demps' thoughts on spending, and specifically the luxury tax. Are they willing to dance that testy dance where you're spending dollar on top of dollar and even more now, the way that the luxury tax structure is laid out for the NBA. So we'll do all that in hour number 1, talk Saints and LSU baseball in hour number 2. So come on back, Sports 1280, NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app. Dunc and Holder. Here's a statement from the Raptors. Your boy.
LeBron sent him to the unemployment. LeBron sent him to the unemployment line.
Oh, yeah. Dan Wetzel.
Yeah, Wetzel. Good God.
In 2017, 2018, the Raptors won a franchise record 59 games, top seed in the Eastern Conference, win a playoff series. Fired.
Yeah. The 8th head coach in Raptors history. Oh my God. He was 320 and 238. He has the only 350 win seasons in franchise history.
Fire Gentry, hire Dwayne Casey.
Yeah. Fire Gentry, hire Dwayne Casey. That's gonna be it. This was hold on. Yeah, let me pull this. Hold on. Where is it? So it's his fault that Lowry and DeRozan are choke artists? Wow. That's...
So he was named Coach of the Year 2 days ago.
2 days ago, because that was all the talk about how they were, it was a travesty that Brad Stevens didn't get a vote, nor did Alvin Gentry get a vote. They were saying like coaches who deserved at least a vote and didn't get one, and they were talking about Brad Stevens and Alvin Gentry for the work they did. It's like, yeah, because Dwayne Casey was named Coach of the Year, and now he's out of a job.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's incredibly stupid. That's so dumb, man. Well, good luck to you, Toronto, because he's gonna screw that up. Man. The Toronto Raptors firing Dwayne Casey. The NBA's Coach of the Year gives a new meaning to the phrase being fired without cause.
from Will Guillory just now on Twitter.
Yes.
As we just spoke of breaking news in Toronto, the Raptors has fired Dwayne Casey, only 2 days being removed from being named Coach of the Year. Alvin Gentry in his press conference yesterday saying, again, this is what Will Guillory just tweeted this, quote, "You don't see what happens to Coaches of the Year in this league? The longevity of guys surviving after Coach of the Year is not great. I'm happy just being the coach of the Pelicans. And if I don't receive a vote ever, I'll be really happy with that." My, oh my, did Alvin just call the shot? I think he did.
You must have known something, man.
I guess so. Must have got around in circles quickly.
This is from Matt Dollinger, who is one of the editors for Sports Illustrated. Unless the Raptors hire LeBron as player-coach, they aren't going to do much better than Dwayne Casey.
That's reactionary, I would say. You're spot on there, Clyde. My goodness. But look, as far as with Alvin Gentry and Dell Demps from yesterday's presser, they can't be reactionary with DeMarcus Cousins and Rajon Rondo. They're certainly going to be taking a close look at the dollars and cents, the injury, all these certain pieces, what could be available throughout. There are going to be some long sessions of strategy of where to go, what to do with this team, and at least we're not talking about long strategy sessions of, man, there's so much they need to fix and they've got to do a mass overhaul. At least we're talking about this in a more positive note that, okay, improve the team because they're in a good shape right now and you just want them to get better, as opposed to we're talking about, man, they just got to make the playoffs. Now we're looking for more, and I think that's fair expectation level for this team moving forward. And that's why I think there's going to be more interest from, say, you, me, the rest of the public in New Orleans, because the expectation level is jumping.
And that's the way it should be. I mean, the way it should be, and I completely 100% agree with that notion that of much is expected, much is required. So now the expectation level has been, and the bar has been raised. I like what Jeff said about, on Monday about the bar being raised and the bar and the expectation level increasing, because it should. And that's what we should all want. And I think that's what we all want, is that we expect as people who follow the team and who are around the team, that you start putting the pieces in place to build upwards and have that upward trajectory of what the upper teams, the upper echelon are doing. And I think that we are starting to hear those comments from the Pelicans. It's a very, very different set of comments. I was so surprised yesterday with a lot of what Alvin Gentry said, with what Dell Demps said, specifically about salaries, going out and getting guys, and not being afraid to get in that luxury tax, because there are a lot of teams who are really against staunchly going in that luxury tax because of the cost that it requires to do that, to bring in said guys, and how much that money is. But if they're willing to do that, that's another level rung up that we would have never seen from the Pelicans beforehand.
He didn't necessarily say they would be willing to jump in.
He said if there's a player that
LeBron James.
I don't even
Kevin Durant.
If
you can score those guys,
score that. Absolutely. But if Paul George is that guy, if you think Paul George is that guy and you want to go out and try to get him, and here's what we're talking about in terms of salary. So if you look at the Pelicans' salary from, top to bottom, Jrue Holiday is your top earner right now because he's making $25 million. He signed that huge contract in the offseason. Then you got AD making 23, and then you've got DeMarcus Cousins, who came in. He's making $18 million. That's his number so far, obviously, and he is now the big fish already in your tank that you're trying to keep in your tank, that you're hoping that someone doesn't come and plug. But after that, you're looking at Mirotic making $12.5 million. Solomon Hill, he's making 12, man. He's making 12, and his dead cap number is 36. Good Lord. That's just so that's the number you're looking at. But it's depending on what you want to do with these numbers and how you plan on trying to make it all work. That's when you come to your front office and really have these conversations in the next month, really, about what do you want to do with some of these other contracts that you have that aren't guys that are role players and or rookies. Frank Jackson, Chuck Diallo, Ian Clark, Darius Miller, guys like that and down, you're really not worried about those contracts. It's everybody else. And specifically, it's Alexis Ajinça, who I totally forgot that he had signed a four-year deal worth $20 million. I totally forgot about that. I totally
forgot he even existed.
I totally forgot he existed. I totally forgot his numbers because I mean we're talking about, I mean his base salary is right at $5 million, but his total dead cap number is at 10. Sweet Lord.
Well, let's hear what Alvin Gentry has to say about what type of players should the Pelicans add this offseason. Now, let's go to the elephant in the room as far as what Dell Demps pointed to, DeMarcus Cousins and his entire multi-pronged issues that you're having to sort out in your general manager mind, and whether it's the health of the player, the mindset of the player, the cost, all this. Let's hear what Dell Demps, this is kind of a few questions mashed up from our own NOLA.com video crew. Here's what Dell Demps had to say about DeMarcus Cousins yesterday. Well, maybe not that. Now, as far as that whole mishmash of responses there, he sounds like, all right, I believe in DeMarcus, this, that, and the other. And while Dell Demps has gotten some moves right lately, how many times have we seen him feel good about a move and it blow up in their face? How many times? Plenty. You can't discount everything that happened before this year. You can't discount. Heck, you brought up a deal, Ajinça. I mean, that's a bad deal. Omar Ashik, bad deal. Eric Gordon, bad deal. I mean, how many, you want me to go on and on and on and on? There are way more failures than success stories. Hence, why there's been way more losing seasons than playoff seasons while Dell Demps has been the general manager. So, while everything's rosy now, this decision, you can have pros and cons on both sides, and this is a critical decision and a pretty critical time for the Pelicans because you can't afford to fall backward. No, you can't do it. You got to spring forward, and I don't envy his spot because this is not going to be an easy decision because whichever way you go, it's a gamble. Whichever way.
Well, here's the thing, though. The only thing that I would say would make it easier, and again, I think it's a risky gamble. It's a risky gamble to have this happen, is that I think there are two ways for this to happen. I think it's specifically either all parties are able to come quickly to an agreement and you're like, well, I mean, I guess it didn't take as much work. Or There's a second option. And there is the option that rumors and unsubstantiated sources start to maybe leak out some things about DeMarcus wanting to maybe look elsewhere.
Well, I wouldn't say unsubstantiated sources, because if there is a story that comes out and it's sourced and it says DeMarcus Cousins may want to look elsewhere, it's highly, maybe about 173% coming from the DeMarcus Cousins camp. That's the way this thing works.
Right.
It's the same sort of stuff you see in every sport. Even in basketball, you can certainly look back at Chris Paul, how he basically forced his way out of town through back channels, and that's how the name of the game works.
Yeah. And at that point, if that happens, and if that does happen, I think that for Dell Demps, it's probably the best of all outcomes in that way, because then it's not perceived from his end that he didn't try to do whatever he could to keep DeMarcus Cousins. It's that DeMarcus Cousins wanted to go somewhere else. And at that point, what more can you ask Dell Demps to do? I mean, Dell Demps and the Pelicans and the organization did exactly what they did, all their due diligence and all the work that they were supposed to do in trying to keep him. And that's what you would expect, is for them to do whatever they could to keep him.
But you don't know that. If you're playing out your hypothetical scenario,
yeah, you're doing hypotheticals.
You don't know if he did that. Who's telling the truth? Who do you trust? So
but you're right. But who do you trust? But does
all a gamble?
But how?
Everything
Exactly, and that's why I said it's a huge gamble. It's a huge gamble, because
one way or the other.
One way or the other. It's literally, that's how you're looking at it, and you're not going to see any of the cards. You're not going to see any of the cards before you. This isn't the game this isn't like Texas Hold'em. Like, I've got some cards, you got some cards, whatever. Like, no one's seen anything. And how this goes from now
you don't have to see the other person's cards.
You don't have to, but you have to basically guess what it is.
See, Clyde, here. See.
No. Either way, either way.
Semantics, huh?
It's semantics, all right? This is a tricky situation. It's a murky field that he's got to navigate. And you're right. I think it's an unenviable position to be in, because you're basically saying that the upward trajectory of the franchise is coming down to this possibly one decision, one player.
Move. Yes, I would agree. Absolutely. All right, let's take a break right here on the show. When we get back, let's hear from Alvin Gentry, his thoughts on DeMarcus Cousins, his thoughts on Rajon Rondo, and on Gail Benson. And also, we'll pivot that a little bit into what Dell Demps said about said luxury tax. He didn't give a concrete answer. He's basically saying, maybe we will, maybe we won't. So we'll hear from all that. Hour number 2, we'll dive into some Saints talk. Of course, rookie minicamp starting up. Alvin Kamara, is he going to be the MVP? One NFL columnist thinks that could be the case. Is the last person to ever win the MVP that wasn't a quarterback coming back to New Orleans? I'll give that move an F- if that happens. Sports180.com, the iHeartRadio app. Dunc and Holder.
It's getting it out. It comes back. I'll give him that F- now. We're going lower.
Don't bring him back again.
Can I give him a Z?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Can I give him like a triple F? Like
ooh. Huh. Give him a W for withdrawal.
Right, exactly.
You get no points.
You
get an I. Yes.
No, because he just completely out. Mr. Eds, did Asher show last night. Got the big $25 gift card.
Gonna get some fried chicken.
Oh, baby. Keeping on the DeMarcus Cousins talk right here on Dunk and Holder. Let's hear from Alvin Gentry. Of course, he had to figure this thing out with DeMarcus Cousins. Seemingly happened. He had to figure this thing out without DeMarcus Cousins. Seemingly happened. So let's hear what Alvin Gentry had to say in yesterday's post 2017-18 season press conference. Here's Alvin Gentry on DeMarcus Cousins. Pretty cut and dry there.
Simple to say. I mean, of course, he's not going to say, man, I really don't want that guy back on my team, an all-star who creates mismatch nightmares for every other team because he's a center and can also shoot threes.
Well, Alvin has the luxury of saying that because he doesn't have to deal with the money. He has the luxury.
All he's got to do is coach.
Exactly. I coach the players who are on the roster, and he's in the win situation. What he could say all these things, and if it doesn't happen, he say, well, I just got to coach the guys I got to coach.
Coach guys I got. We'll go out in free agency and see what we can get.
Exactly. All right, let's hear from Alvin Gentry on the other free agent who's probably looking to cash in, Rajon Rondo. Yep, another win situation. Hey, Alvin Gentry, I would take them all.
Yeah, it's like all these guys are on my team. I
want
to bring them all back.
Bring them all back.
Give me Darko Milicic. Bring him too. Why not?
No.
No, of course
now
not.
you just stepped over the line.
I'm just saying, dude. I mean, you do it all the time.
Darko,
Why can I do it? Yes, free Darko.
Keep Darko. You could put Darko in the corner. Keep him in there.
Keep Darko in the corner.
Keep Darko in the corner. All right, let's hear from Alvin Gentry on the influence of Gail Benson throughout this playoff run, and with her taking over after the passing of her husband, Tom Benson. And I know the team put out a lengthy statement. You can go check that out at NOLA.com. But I think this is an interesting time for her because she's the owner of the franchise. Is she willing to invest? It sounds like she's fully invested in this team. Is she fully invested into spending more money maybe than, say, Tom would? Because I don't think Tom wanted to go over the luxury tax. Would Gail be willing to do that? Dell Demps was kind of broached that topic yesterday, and here's his quote. I'll just read it off here. If there's a player that puts us in a position to compete for a championship, we're going to go for it. That's been the mindset. We're not going to just spend foolishly either. We're going to try to be efficient. We're going to try to maximize our financial situation. But if the situation presents itself, we want to go for it. And Gail Benson was asked at the NFL owners' meetings about having to make tough decisions, and she was very frank with her answer. It was probably the most frank of all of her answers the first time she really met with media after the passing of Tom Benson. And she was frank about that. This is one of these situations where this will be a big-time, multi-million-dollar decision on, do they spend money? Do they go over the tax? Do they want to do this? And I would argue that if you do go over the tax, I think you're investing in the future of the team. And if you get a big-time player, it only builds the value of your team. So spend money to make money? Maybe so.
It's a way to look at it. And I think, and for me, it just feels like this is the route that we're going in a smart way. I really like what she's saying and where it's going.
We'll see where this goes. Hour number 1 is up. Hour number 2 is on the way. We'll talk a bit about the Saints rookie minicamp and plenty of news and notes. Josh Katzenstein at 11:30 as well. So come on back. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. Dunc and Holder.
Like, why do you drink?
Because I love the taste. No.
Why do you roll smoke? Well, you know it's a flavor.
Why do you drink battery acid? Because I love the flavor. I love it.
Oh, goodness. Good gracious.
Did you at least get this weekend off, finally?
Yes.
Good.
Yes. I'm not doing a single thing this weekend. Yes.
Run away.
Yeah. Nothing this weekend. I'll only be here 3 days next week.
Oh, which days are you gonna be out?
Thursday. I'm not gonna be here on Thursday, Friday, and then the Monday following.
Okay.
So I'll be here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Okay.
No, but seriously, when does Jeff get back?
He'll be back for that following Monday, and I was not gonna do radio that day, but I guess I will.
Well,
he comes back to all by himself.
Yeah. Literally, he's gonna come back. Well, hey, bud. Hey, know what it was like for us now.
Oh yeah.
This was what this was what April and most of May has been like for us. So enjoy that.
Yeah, because when I get back from Atlanta, I'm not doing radio the rest of the week.
That's good. That's good.
Well, a couple days, but I think I'm trying to weasel out of going to the first OTA.
Oh, that's understandable.
I might
too.
tell Jennifer, I'm like, I'm flying back Thursday.
Yeah, oh boy.
Sorry, I'm gonna miss it.
Yeah, sorry.
Because the OTA's during the show.
Oh Lord. And I guess unfortunately we'll be able to go out and do the show from there, huh?
And then yeah, probably the other 2 OTAs. I'm probably gonna duck out, and then minicamp and practices during the show. I'm gonna duck out too.
Yeah.
Do it.
Has changed. Okay. Oh no. Well, I mean, shit. Today's only the what's today? Today's 11th.
Yeah.
So, I guess we have to tell these fools eventually.
No, they know.
No, I mean.
Oh.
Yes.
I'm not telling them until I'm not gonna say anything until like the last day.
That's abrupt.
I mean, that's just what it's gonna be.
Yeah. I know they said they wanted to finalize everything else
Honestly,
on the end, but like.
Honestly, I'll do it to create a buzz. What? Stop! And I'm just gonna say we're gonna come back in another form.
That's fair.
Go on hiatus.
That's fair. Okay, well that works too.
I'm
I must say that's a good way to
not doing
generate.
like a Jeter victory lap.
Victory lap. Oh, so you tell me we don't have like a week of just like
No.
bring everybody back in?
No.
Ugh.
But yeah, I'm not gonna do it till that day.
That's fair. Okay. Well, I mean, that's fair. That'll certainly be a way of getting everybody's attention.
Yep.
Is that a piece of bacon? Oh my god. Good lord. So good. Get lit. Is that Lance? Yeah, that's good. Good lord. Big fine woman. Who's playing with? Cause of what? Okay, well, shout out to the spinners. The Love Boat.
Dante Culpepper on that Love Boat.
With some star caps.
Star caps. Whoa.
Some star caps. Little Vikings Love Boat action.
Oh yeah.
I can tell you right now.
Ryan McKinney,
Oh
I think
yeah.
he was a
Oh
love
yes,
boater.
he was a love boater. Yes, he was.
Dunc and Holder, hour number 2 on a Friday, May 11th. Larry Holder, Clyde Verdun, Dave DeCourbier here with you at iHeartRadio Central. Jeffrey Duncan still on his European vacation, driving around in circles around the Eiffel Tower, probably running around in a Speedo. I don't know. That would be so Jeff.
That would be so Jeff.
It would be
on
so
the French Riviera. French Riviera, glistening beaches, mountainside cliffs.
I doubt he's down there.
Yeah, of course not.
No, he's probably. I don't know what he's doing. He might be eating a chicken cordon bleu sandwich for all I know.
Of course, is that either that or he's eating stales. That's Cargill.
Or maybe some stale peeps. You never know. But Jeff will be gone for the
They got those in
foreseeable
France?
future. They probably do. But hour number 1, we talked primarily Pelicans. Hour number 2, we're going to switch it over. Talk Saints. Their rookie minicamp is underway. I'd say probably right now. The rookies are going to be practicing. They've got 3 days worth of practices. You've got the draft picks, the undrafted rookie free agent signees. You've got tryout players. And 6 of the 7 draft picks have signed contracts. That includes Marcus Davenport, and it's really easy at this rate. The only one that's not signed is Traquan Smith. I'm wondering what the holdup is. Maybe it won't be that long of a holdup anyway, but it's really easy. You're already seeing many first-round picks sign with the rookie wage scale, so any really sort of contract dispute is an extreme rarity. The only one I can really remember over the last couple of years was Joey Bosa. That was a bizarre situation. But no worries as far as the draft class. But look, we as media, the public, we're not able to watch these practices, so we will be able to catch up with some of the players over the weekend. I know I am going to be writing about this weekend. Former brother Martin, LSU standout, 7th round draft pick, Will Clapp. I've been on record saying I think he's going to be a very good, sneaky good pick late in the 7th round, and I'll catch up with him and write about it this week at NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. So that's, of course, the big story as far as actual sport going on an actual field, even though they're just in shirts and shorts and helmets and such for rookie camp. Some interesting names. I have a story up on NOLA.com right now. 7 players to watch during rookie minicamp, even though you can't technically watch them. And some of the players I have on there, and we're going to talk with Josh Katzenstein in about 20 minutes about rookie minicamp and several other Saints tidbits that have been going on this week. But it runs kind of the spectrum of Saints rookie minicamp. I have 1 draft pick. I have a couple of undrafted rookies who are signed. I have a couple of tryout players. And that's what this weekend's all about, more or less, for me, is that you're wondering if a tryout guy, say Matt Elam, former first-round pick, he's going to be practicing out of football last year, cut by the Ravens, arrested a couple of times in 2017, but all the charges were dropped for each arrest. And he's basically starting from the ground floor. I know ground floor, excuse me. I know reportedly that Tyron Walker, a former Saints defensive lineman, is also going to be trying out, and that's a position of need. They want to find out who could fill that 4th defensive tackle spot. So that's certainly something interesting. You're going to be seeing who stays and who goes after this weekend. You've got a couple of undrafted rookie signees at defensive tackle. So on Sunday and going into Monday, you're going to see some roster moves. Guys who are signed are going to be cut. Some tryout guys will likely receive contracts. So that's really the big story. But, Clyde, I think just the comings and goings of this week, as in Mark Ingram's not coming to OTAs and he's going to be suspended, I think that puts a big spotlight on a draft pick starting this weekend and moving forward with Boston Scott of Louisiana Tech. People are going to be very intrigued to follow his performance, and I know there are going to be plenty of local media wanting to talk to him tomorrow because he's got a pretty significant opportunity that I'm sure he did not anticipate when he first got drafted.
Absolutely not. And I mean, for him, he's got to be, I would imagine, for a player who was drafted where he was drafted, he's got to feel like maybe landing with the Saints before was something different than what it is now. And now he's got a completely new opportunity and a new lease on his NFL life, so to speak, to be able to really make an impact. And you're right, I can't wait to see the scrum, to be able to talk to him specifically for what he could be able to do going into, like you said, OTAs and really workouts starting in training camp. But between him, I'm really intrigued about JT Barrett. I mean, I'm really interested to see what the Saints not only have in line for him, not only at the quarterback position, but just as a football player. Like, obviously, he was a standout player at Ohio State. I mean, he was one of the he set Ohio State records for passing yards and I think accuracy or I think completion percentage, something like that. But I mean, obviously, he was a huge talent at Ohio State. So for me, it's got to be JT Barrett. Like, I'm just intrigued to see what they are going to want to do with his NFL career starting really this weekend.
Well, JT Barrett, he is one of those players who is signed to a contract. Originally, they were just going to bring him in on a tryout basis. Some other teams started getting interested in trying to bring him in, so the Saints put him under contract. But as I put in my story, that really doesn't mean anything outside of you've got a chance to get past this weekend, because a player like Brandon Silvers, Troy quarterback, who I'm sure LSU fans remember the name since he didn't light LSU up, but he was certainly under center when Troy upset LSU, and they could probably have, I have not seen a full roster yet. I know that will come out. I'll at least have my hands on it tomorrow, but
although speaking of that though, there was a tweet yesterday, and I have to give credit to our good friend Robert O'Shields. There was a picture of him in Philadelphia saying, "Ready to get to work, fly Eagles fly."
So maybe he's not going to be there.
I guess there's not. I mean, I know that there was talk about him because wasn't he supposed to come from Philadelphia to here or something close to that? But it seems like, I don't know. Like this was yesterday and it didn't get picked up, and we didn't know if this was something that was old or whatnot. But we haven't heard anything about it since, so not sure.
Maybe he's not even here, so maybe just totally screwed up. I don't know.
No, I didn't know. I mean, I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you, like, if that's kind of also a part of this whole deal. This early on in rookie minicamp, where some guys who are supposed to come maybe don't come, and some guys who do kind of find other spots, or if the whole JT Barrett thing changed it. But I just don't know if that was something that routinely happens at this point in time of the year.
Yeah, you're jockeying for position because you could go and do 2 tryouts, because rookie minicamps for some teams started last week and they went through it, and then you have this week they also go through it. So if you're not signed to a team, you could have another tryout set up. But yeah, look, it might be something where he decided to go elsewhere. I'm curious to see who's on the roster as far as quarterback. But regardless, if he's on there or not, and yeah, look, according to some of the reports, that he is an Eagles rookie camp, and he decided to not go with the Saints. So look, that's some things that happen. So well, we'll see where that goes from here. But as far as with JT Barrett, he's a big name, and you're wondering if he can get past this weekend, because other quarterbacks will be at the Saints facility, and you have no real guarantee. Like I said, tryout players can be picked up, and you could certainly be replaced immediately. That's just the nature of rookie camp, so it'll be interesting to see going forward with there. But as far as some of these other news, plenty of tidbits coming out about the Saints throughout the past week, and even throughout the past, say, day, as far as who might want to return to the Saints. Who could it be?
Who literally could come out this week and say, you know what, it wasn't that bad. You know, my preseason, 4 games. After game 1, I looked at my coach like I was about to, harm him in some irrespectful way, and then get traded, and then come back and say, yeah, I want to come back. Who would do that? Larry?
Maybe someone who needs a job. Adrian Peterson, maybe?
Come on down.
I'm not saying come on down. No.
I'm going to say it.
Yeah, you could go ahead and say it. I'm not going to say it. All right, let's take a break right here on the show. We'll dive into that topic as well as some others. Josh Katzenstein, NOLA.com, and the Times Picayune will join us around 11:30, and I'm curious to see his reaction to some of these interesting topics. Also, Mike Freeman of Bleacher Report, NFL columnist, longtime NFL writer, has a column up saying that because of Mark Ingram's absence, this could open the door for Alvin Kamara to be the MVP.
I'm gonna spur that quick.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna nip that in the bud and bury it 6 feet under real quick.
I don't know if I'm buying that totally. So, all right, we'll talk about that. Also, a little bit of LSU baseball toward the end of the show. They take on Alabama this week. Tulane hosting Memphis as well. So we'll talk about that. And your phone calls are welcome. 504-260-1280 is the number to get involved here. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app. Dunc and Holder. Oh, God, do I feel like a moron?
Huh?
I didn't know that he was going to the
No,
Eagles.
dude, I saw it yesterday, and I just thought maybe, like, no one else did anything with it, though. So I figured, was that old or something? But it was just really, really crazy out of the blue.
Sucks. Deleting it.
drawbridge, and thousands of gallons of butterscotch pudding. Now let's start digging.
You could try to protect your stuff with pudding, or you could get covered for personal property loss through the Geico Insurance Agency. Call Geico and see how affordable homeowners insurance can be.
Hey guys, whether you're built like a power forward or a power lifter, there's one clothing store that's built to fit you, DXL. While most stores might go up to size XL, that's where we begin, with a huge selection of famous brands like Lacoste, Levi's, Brooks Brothers, and more. So finding clothes that look great and fit even better is never a hassle. Stop by one of our 200 plus DXL stores or shop destinationxl.com. Built to fit.
It's the business side, so a lot of these people all
DXL. Get thousands of free items.
Lord.
Perfect for any mood and activity, and perfect for fans of every genre. Alternative, hip hop, pop, and more. Looking for the biggest classic hits? Try the Yacht Rock playlist to hear the greatest hits of all time. Find the perfect playlist for you. Trust us, for every moment in life that music makes better, there's a free playlist for that on iHeartRadio. All your favorite music, all your favorite stations, all free.
This message is for all of you sitting in the passenger seat. And apologies if it gets a little uncomfortable, but how does it feel to be at the mercy of someone who thinks a random text is more important than your life? Someone who takes their eyes off the road while speeding along in a 3-ton hunk of steel. Freaky, right? Well, why not just ask them to stop? Or better yet, volunteer to text for them. It might be a little awkward, but believe me, you'll live.
Learn more at stoptextsstopwrecks.org. That counts on the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. No matter how large or small your digging project may be.
Sounds like Mark Ingram will not be at OTAs. Of course, that's organized team activities. They have 3 weeks of those. Sean Payton telling ESPN's Mike Triplett yesterday, here's a quote, "He and I spoke," as in Payton and Ingram spoke. "So it wasn't a surprise to us that he's not here. He has not been going through the offseason workouts and that he will not be at OTAs." Payton also adding, "I don't agree with it, But it is optional, and that's his choice. And it's a rarity in a contract situation with the Saints for a player to duck out on OTAs. I can tell you the last time I can remember, and maybe there was another situation where a player sat up, but I can tell you the last time where it was contract related and a player was not in OTAs of major significance was Drew Brees. But that was when he was not actually signed on the dotted line for OTAs in 2012. He still had the franchise tag, did not sign it. Of course, he got a long-term deal after it. But that was a summer of major distraction. Drew Brees was like 4th on the list because that was bounty hell. So that was that offseason you had Joe Vitt as the coach, and you had Chase Daniel as the quarterback going through OTAs. Woo! Pretty promising.
Yeah.
That baby.
Screams confidence. Screams this is going to be a normal season unlike any other.
Absolutely.
Not so much.
Not so much. But look, as far as Sean Payton was also asked by Triplett if they were going to add a running back at this point, and Payton said that they don't have any plans to do that. And so they're going to be riding with Alvin Kamara. Of course, they're going to have Trey Edmonds on the roster right now. Jonathan Williams, we just talked about in the last segment about Boston Scott. He's on the roster as well. Daniel Lasco also is on the roster. But a certain former Saints, longtime great Saints running back,
Preseason great.
didn't even get over 100 yards rushing in his time with the Saints. Adrian Peterson, reportedly, according to USA Today, is open to returning to the Saints. Actually, quote unquote, definitely open to returning to the Saints.
He's about it. He's about it.
Man, that's certainly a role reversal. Here's what Peterson told NFL.com. For whatever reason, it just didn't work out in New Orleans. But when I got my shot in Arizona, I showed what I was able to do. I know once I get back out there, I'll be blessed with a healthy season and show people I'm still the best in the league.
Wow.
I didn't even read this quote before this show.
I'm glad you're getting this shot like the rest of us.
Are you kidding me?
Shot.
Best in the league.
Todd
now?
Todd Gurley may have something to say about that.
Le'Veon
Bell might have something to say about that.
Mark Ingram might have something to say about that.
Mark Ingram, Ezekiel Elliott, they might have something to say about that.
Jonathan Williams might have something to say about that. Lasco.
Kareem Hunt. That's true. Good point.
Still the best in the league. Is this guy?
So when he eventually
delusional?
signs, like can we get like having Adrian Peterson sign on the exact same day that he signed last year to come back in? That would be fantastic.
Thank God we passed that because that was in April.
Oh,
that was right before the draft.
Oh, that stinks.
Yes,
Man.
but Adrian Peterson.
It still work. He had some flashes when he went to Arizona.
Yeah, he had one good game and then went in the tank.
We watched that. I remember we were in the press box. We watched that game.
He had one good game and then he went in the tank.
Yeah, well.
And then he got hurt and whatever. I'm still the best in the league. I mean, he can't really believe in himself, right?
I think it goes back to that conversation that we always have about athletes and that, that switch they need to have to, even at, 34, 35, that they still have to at least be somewhat viable in the league. Because if they say, oh man, no, I've lost 7 steps since the last time was great, 2 knee surgeries ago or whatever, no one's going to want him after that. So he's got to say that.
Well, it didn't seem like he wanted to be a limited role in New Orleans, and so that's why he got traded. So now he's willing to come back and be a limited role, knowing that Mark Ingram is only suspended for 4 games.
If you pay him, they will come.
Like I said, when you need a job, I guess you'll be willing to do other things.
Yeah.
But
I mean, he's on his last legs, man. I mean, there's going to be no other to be blessed with an injury-free season for him at his age and the position he plays is a pipe dream. I mean, you can pray to whatever God you want to at that point. I mean, it's not going to happen. Your body says something otherwise. I mean, it's just nature. It's what happens.
By the way, he rushed for 81 yards with the Saints.
I was going to say, I knew it was like 81 or 82, something close to that.
When he was traded to the Cardinals, he rushed for 448 yards and 2 touchdowns while he was on the roster.
Wasn't great.
Definitely still the best in the league.
I mean, but he may not have had a lot of yards, but he certainly had more than enough memes after Game 1 against Minnesota.
Well,
he led the league in that.
If you want to be the best in the league of meme-worthy, okay, feel free.
I mean, he might be. We talked about this with Willie Snead, and I'm not saying that we should put Mark Ingram in this category, but with all the things that are going on with Mark, why should we automatically think that he's going to come back after in week 5 in October and automatically just go back into the lineup, come out gangbusters, and then light the world on fire like he's been doing the last 2 seasons?
Yeah, I assume that he would not be shipped off to Siberia, but who knows?
Yeah, shipped off to Siberia.
Who knows? Look, what if one of these younger running backs emerge? What if Alvin Kamara really goes off and becomes MVP worthy? Apparently, look, longtime buddy of mine, Mike Freeman. I know it's May.
It is.
It's definitely May, but here's the headline. Mark Ingram's suspension sets up Alvin Kamara to snap the QB MVP streak. And unbelievable coincidence. The last running back to win the MVP. The last person to win the MVP outside of a quarterback was
Just talked about him.
Adrian Peterson. Maybe Adrian Peterson can come back and be the MVP.
Okay, let's not go that far.
No.
Let's not go that far. Let's not be silly.
He's the best in the league.
Let's not be that
Best
silly.
in the league. He's going to come back, and he's going to win the MVP.
If Todd Gurley couldn't win the MVP last year and he had the season he had, a running back is not going to win it for the foreseeable future. So put your money down on whatever quarterback you want. I would put it on, probably going to put it on like Matt Ryan,
Carson Wentz.
Well,
he's not going to play a full season. Well, he might.
he
play a
might.
full season.
I mean, if they're
Brees.
saying,
If Alvin Kamara wins the MVP and Drew Brees doesn't
Does
win
it?
the MVP,
Seriously.
come on, man.
it's okay to be the trade. I mean, Drew Brees is still going to the Hall of Fame, man.
Well, I mean, Adrian Peterson's won one, so why can't he win 2?
Because
Best player in the league.
when he won it, he also he obliterated his knee and he still didn't. He had that like major knee injury like that year that he won it, right? I'm
No,
pretty
he
sure.
rushed for 2,000 yards.
Yeah, he
in
rushed 2,000 yards.
2012.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't think he's
the
going to be
best
doing that.
player in the league,
I don't think he's going to be doing that
according
again.
to him.
Maybe
So he should win the MVP.
We should probably ask
not Alvin
Josh.
Kamara.
We should probably ask Josh what he thinks about Adrian Peterson, thinking that he's the best player in the league still.
I think I've said enough. No one's going to be as blunt and honest as me about it.
Oh, clearly.
Exactly.
What grade did he get again?
F.
Who were the other 2 people that got Fs?
Willie Snead and Devontae Harris in
Oh,
my
man.
post 2017 season grades.
I mean, it's so harsh. It's just so harsh, man. Just
Well.
things didn't work out the way he needed it to. I mean, it's fine.
The truth hurts.
The
What do you
truth
want me
does
to
hurt.
do?
That's also true.
Absolutely. Let's take a break right here on the show. When we get back, we'll talk with our own Josh Katzenstein, who happened to be mentioned in Mike Freeman's article. So that's good.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
About Mark Ingram and this, that, and the other.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so, but no, Josh
thought I was
Katzenstein,
famous. Apparently not.
NOLA.com, the Times Picayune will join us. We'll talk Saints minicamp, some of the interesting tidbits throughout the week. And final segment, we'll dive in a little bit on college baseball, give you the landscape since it is mid-May, and we've only got a couple of weekends left. And crunch time, certainly for LSU, crunch time for Tulane. They've got to play well this weekend just to get into the Americans Conference Tournament. So we'll touch on that final segment of the show. Coming back, Sports 1280, NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app, Dunc and Holder. Best player in the league. Are you
Best player
kidding
in the
me?
league.
I would have done 2 hours just on that.
I'm
about
sure.
already.
I'm sure you would have. I'm sure you would have. Good Lord. It's probably a good thing you didn't see that until then, because it's like, good God.
What a clown.
I'm sure God told him to say that. It's fine.
Let's hope Sean Payton sticks to his word and says, "See ya, AP,"
Yeah, see you, bro.
or whatever.
Look, if he let the man come back to New Orleans and come back to the locker room and sign a bunch of stuff for the guys, I mean, come on, man. I mean, he couldn't have been that hated.
He's not hated in there. I just think he's a loser.
He's a loser.
Players did. Yeah, they don't have any deal with that.
I'm a loser, baby, so why don't you kill me? Good Lord, this is annoying.
We calling Josh?
Didn't think so.
I told him to join the radio experience today, as in like Stormy Daniels.
I mean, that's certainly a way to get in.
Oh yeah.
Shoot, man, I saw James Andrews there, and I was like, "Wait, you serious?"
Hey man.
I was like, "Come on, James. I mean, you gonna play a trumpet before the show?" Good lord.
Nope, just a rusty trombone.
No, just.
Just that.
I'm not even gonna. I don't even do it. I don't give a shit. That was gold.
Exactly.
That was fucking gold. Good
Yeah.
lord. Good God. That was.
Hopefully YouTube didn't hear us.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they probably did, but it's fine.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's okay.
That's not good. Thought this might be a slow week in Saints land, and turned out to be quite a hectic week in mid-May. Joining us to kind of break down the week, Josh Katzenstein, NOLA.com, the Times-Picayune, of course, covers the Saints. And Josh, let's just start with the Mark Ingram situation. Of course, Sean Payton coming out and saying that he does not anticipate Mark Ingram being at OTAs. And, of course, the suspension on top of that. What do you make of this entire situation, and how do you think the Saints kind of cope without Mark Ingram for the first 4 games of the season? He's the best player in the league, according to him.
Throw my hopes and dreams.
He's the best player in the league, according to himself. That's what he's quoted as saying. Josh, I've debated this with Jeff before he went globetrotting. He feels like Alvin Kamara can be a number 1 back. Do you think that? Josh Katzenstein covers the Saints for NOLA.com, the Times-Picayune, joining us right here on Dunc and Holder. Josh, you had a chance to chat a little bit with Alex Okafor, and of course there's the curiosity around his Achilles injury. He's 6 months removed, 7 months removed from the injury, and it doesn't sound like he's going to be back, say, for OTAs, which is perfectly fine. But what's the sense maybe you got from him that he truly feels confident he can get back, and how do you think the Saints try to navigate him compared to trying to develop Marcus Davenport, of course, their first-round pick?
Speaking of that, and with just rookie minicamp starting, what are some of your other thoughts about some of the other rookies that are going to be going through their paces this weekend in the workouts? We talked a little bit earlier. Obviously, we talked about Boston Scott and what he now has in front of him with the opportunity of being able to showcase what he does. Talked about JT Barrett and some of the other guys. Just kind of what are your expectations on what the Saints are looking to accomplish this weekend, knowing that before OTAs start, this is really the closest they're going to get to being able to see if these guys can handle the rigors of the NFL.
Josh Katzenstein, NOLA.com, the Times-Picayune, joining us right here on Dunc and Holder. Josh, as far as players you are interested to speak with, I figured that a lot of people are going to be, as far as media-wise, are probably going to be looking to go talk with Boston Scott tomorrow, given kind of the opening at running back. Anybody you're interested to really kind of chatting with when we have some access with some players at some point this weekend? Josh Katzenstein, NOLA.com, the Times-Picayune. Follow all of his coverage of all things Saints at NOLA.com. Follow on Twitter at @JKatzenstein. He will be out at Saints rookie minicamp talking to players. I will be out there as well, so we'll have full coverage this weekend. Hey, Josh, appreciate it, buddy. All right, that's Josh Katzenstein, NOLA.com, and the Times-Picayune. Yeah, Dion Yelder, it's funny, the tight end position, and in the preview I had two tight ends that I'm keeping a close tab on. One of them was Dion Yelder because of the money that the Saints gave him. You're giving him that money because you're battling other teams for him. And Yelder is an interesting prospect. Only started 1 year for Western Kentucky, but he came out like gangbusters. 52 catches, 688 yards, 7 touchdowns. And when you see a tight end like that, you're wondering, why wasn't he drafted? Maybe it was just the lack of experience. Maybe it was just because he had the lack of experience and playing at Western Kentucky. But it seems like there was a market for him and someone to watch. And he's someone I think is one of the safest undrafted signees to escape rookie camp still with the Saints.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you're just hoping that with what you've been able to do and what you're going to show this weekend, it'll only enhance the idea of where the Saints already have you placed. And you're right. I mean, I think it goes back to the tight ends that we saw throughout the draft. I mean, it just didn't seem like tight ends were as highly ranked for a lot of teams as it has been in the past.
Well, once you got past the top, say, 4,
yeah,
and there was only one other that was taken at the start of day 3, I would have liked, say, Ian Thomas from Indiana. I like Tyler Conklin, who was from I think it was from either Central or Western Michigan. I'm forgetting. I think it's Central Michigan. I had him, and maybe as a 5th-round option. I think he got plucked off the board a few picks before their 5th-round pick. So I have no idea if he was on their board or not. Just someone who kind of piqued my interest. But once you got past those guys, and you moved on, and so this route doesn't surprise me with, say, going to get a Yelder.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's not really a surprise that we're talking about. It's interesting because we talked about all these different positions that the Saints needed to address, quote unquote, in the draft, and it seems like not only they did that, but I think they were able to do that in ways that they saw value in guys that maybe weren't as highly ranked as some of the other ones, like especially like a Dallas Goedert or a Mark Andrews or whatever, or even in Josh Jackson or whatnot. Like, they were able to still find guys at really value prices that they have belief can turn into something great. And I think that's what hopefully they are looking to see in rookie minicamp, and then transitioning that on from this weekend to OTAs and going forward.
Well, we've seen that historically. The Saints have been very good in identifying undrafted rookie free agents and having them be key cogs to the team. The most prominent in the Peyton era was, of course, Pierre Thomas, and there are several other examples. But you're wondering how many people actually have a shot at making this roster. As far as even the draft class, I'm not totally certain that everyone they draft makes the roster, because that's how I feel like deep this team is, and
we talked about that.
It's going to be an uphill battle for a lot of these guys, so I'm curious to see where we go going forward. Like I said, rookie minicamp is all about surviving through it and making it. The draft picks aren't going anywhere, but the other, and that's what I'm talking about, 7 guys.
Yeah.
There's about another 50 that are there.
Which is insane to me.
It's all
That's so
up
crazy.
for grabs. No matter if you're under contract or not, it's all up for grabs.
And then, of course, naturally, the idea is that even if you don't make it with the Saints, you want to do a good enough job to be able to say, if another team comes later on and swoops you up for the next go-rounds, whether or not it's OTAs or whether or not it's camp in the starting in July, that if someone from another team, say the Lions or whoever, calls the Saints about you, at least if you put on a good enough show but you just didn't make it for them, you can make it with somebody else.
Yeah, that's the whole point of that, training camp, all of that. Tape is everywhere, so you got to be
Yeah.
ready to go. So, all right, let's take our final break of our Friday show. We'll spin it to college baseball. LSU taking on Alabama. They need to take care of business. Tulane hosting Memphis. they need to take care of business just to try to get into the American Athletic Conference tournament. And LSU, this weekend, if they struggle, will hurt them way worse than the previous weekend taking on Arkansas, or even next weekend when they take on highly touted Auburn. This is one where you better take care of business or you're going to be in some trouble even getting into the NCAA tournament. So we'll talk about that coming up next. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app. Duncan Older. How can you mix the flute or the
clarinet?
the clarinet, the sultry voice of Asher, and a bunch of drugs? So it's like Corey, Asher, and drugs mixed together.
That would be one of the most soothing, soothing drug commercials I think you could ever possibly get.
Yeah.
And you could not find a better group to be able to like talk about said drugs and all under the guise of like, you know, Louisiana, you know, typical New Orleans style jazz.
Yeah. Yeah.
So sick of these rubber
Rubber
ducky.
duck.
So
Yeah. Missed any of today's show? Sports1280.com, NOLA.com YouTube account, and also Claude will do his daily NOLA.com recap of the show. Gotta be that Adrian Peterson's the best player in the NFL, right?
yeah, because of
Gotta be.
course, naturally that's going to drive the clicks today. Oh,
Can
boy.
you just put dope, Adrian Peterson is not the best NFL player?
I won't do that. No, I'm not going to do that.
I just did it for you.
I know you just did it for me.
That would be.
I'm not
If
going to
you
do
want
that.
clicks bonanza,
I don't.
if you want a bonus, just put dope! Adrian Peterson, you're not the best player in the league anymore. dope.
Okay, well, there's that.
Yeah, there's that. Absolutely. Anyway, LSU final home series. The next 4 games for LSU might be the last time you see them play at Alex Box Stadium the entire season.
Yep.
Rarity you'd say that. They're hosting Alabama this week. Look, LSU's 29-20, 12-12 in the SEC, and their RPI, according to NOLA.com, it's the RPI machine I use. Well, I don't use. I just
You shouldn't.
I don't use
but whatever.
I don't press the button. It's not the one I should use.
No, because the only one the NCAA uses is their own.
So where are they? 46 is on Warren Nolan. Where are they?
I'm pulling it up right now. Keep talking.
Anyway, Alabama, they are not very good. 81 according to the RPI machine that I use. Whatever. Clyde, you and your real
RPI that is
RPI.
really used.
Sure.
LSU is 52 in the NCAA's RPI.
So they're not 46.
No.
So they're even worse than I thought.
It's not terrible, but it's not where you want to be. And Alabama's 80.
Okay, they had Alabama 81 up here. So, all right, well, you learn something new every day.
Just saying, man.
Yeah, you
The
learn
same
that.
thing for college basketball, guys. Whatever, all Ken Palm and all that kind of stuff. Cool deal, man. The NCAA use their own stuff. Thank you.
We'll make it more readily accessible for
It
idiots
is
like
easily
me.
accessible. RPIarchive.ncaa.org. Easy to find. You want RPI for, you want even stuff for like NCAA football? You got it.
Type that again. What is it?
RPIarchive.ncaa.org. You want an RPI? That's where you get it.
Why didn't you tell me this like?
Because
6
you never
months ago?
asked. Because you never
I
asked.
never asked. Oh my word.
You want to use yours, and that's
I
fine.
Never asked.
I just wanted to let you be wrong so I could be right about something for once.
Unbelievable. Yeah, there we go. Something right for once.
Ah,
Good.
There you go.
I'm in on that. All right. Well, then I'll take that as a win anyway. But regardless, LSU is fighting for its postseason livelihood. And if you go to d1baseball.com, is that real? Is that legitimate? I can actually cite that?
Yeah, you can cite them too. I mean, everybody has their own. Everybody has their own formulas. It's all kind of sort of similar, but when it comes down to it, the NCAA uses their own stuff.
Okay. LSU is now actually back into the field of 64. And the fact that we're having to say they're back into the field of 64 just shows you how tenuous really their entire season has been, and it's coming down to the nitty-gritty time. Right now, D1 Baseball has them as part of their last 5 in. It goes Houston, Baylor, Missouri State, LSU, and Vandy. The last 5 out, Purdue, Illinois, Louisiana. How about UL Lafayette, please? Come on.
Yes.
Missouri
They are.
and TCU.
Wow.
And they have LSU sending them to UConn as a 3rd seed.
Wow.
UConn, they have them slated as the last host at number 16, so they would be in the Gainesville, Florida
Oh.
part of the bracket potentially.
Woof to that.
So yeah, so that's where LSU is. 3rd seed going to Norwich to take on Northeastern. That's where they have slated, and they have UConn and Yale in that bracket.
Yeah. Of course, you're going to get it regionalized. The NCAA has been doing a much better job of keeping teams regional locally if they can. And then you just don't want to be one of their quote unquote, they're called flyers, which
LSU
means,
would be a flyer.
yeah, they're gonna,
situation.
which LSU would be at this point. But sometimes it's worse. Like, I mean, you'll have a team like LIU Brooklyn get shipped all the way to Seattle. It's like, my goodness, that's just brutal. But the NCAA pays for it, so whatever.
There you go. Well, as far as LSU, look, Alabama's one of the worst teams in the SEC, and so you can't afford any hiccups this weekend. Can you afford them next weekend when you're at Auburn? I don't think you can go out and get swept, but you better not lose this series if you're LSU this weekend. It's critical, and we haven't seen anything like this since when, Claude? Probably 2011?
Yeah.
The last time
Yeah,
we
yeah.
missed the tournament?
Uh-huh. Because that was coming off of, what, a year, 2 years after winning the national championship?
Yes.
So that's what we're literally talking about here. You're talking about going from being a World Series finalist, final series participant to not making the NCAA tournament. That doesn't happen a lot, but man, LSU's not the only one. You named TCU in there, TCU, Virginia, Vanderbilt. A
These
lot
are
of
all
teams,
teams
man.
we're used to seeing.
Blue Bloods have
in
struggled this year.
easily. Exactly.
But it's good for the mid-majors because the mid-majors are getting some love and they deserve it.
guess so, Clyde. Not Nichols, though, right?
Not this year. But hey, good luck to the Nichols softball team. They're playing for the Southern Conference title. They won the regular season, playing for the tournament title. They win it. They go to the NCAA tournament. Good luck. Play out in Lake Charles.
I had no
Go
idea
Colonels.
that I walked into that. No
Yeah, you
clue
did.
at all. Man,
You're welcome.
I just sabotaged myself.
That's
Wanna
how we
thank
went off for
Josh
lunch.
Katzenstein. Again, sports1280.com, NOLA.com, YouTube, and NOLA.com. Clyde will have an update. Eric Escher coming up next. We're going for the weekend. We'll be back Monday. Sports1280.com, sports1280, NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app. Duncan Holder.
That was right under the gun, baby.
As I said
Right
the
at the
wrong
gun.